All changed cards from Commander Masters. As we're already moving towards Wilds of Eldraine and the Lost Caverns of Ixalan, we haven't even taken the time to look at the cards from Commander Legends properly. But while they might be pricey, they are worth the look. Let's start with the cards that already existed, but have been changed. Then we'll look at the side profile cards that add flavor, and then we'll look at the new cards. Timestamps below. So first, we are looking at cards that existed before, like we see with Kemba Ka Regent, who was there before, had a little bit less armor, was a little bit less protected maybe. But anyways, she has stone for her belly, so maybe that protected her well enough. Other than that, her art changed too. She now has an actual army. They don't there are no cats there, but still, that is a little bit flavorful maybe. She does the same. She makes white cats, but instead of saying "I am not Raksha, I will never be," she now says we must rebuild Tashnar, not for Raksha, not for the vanished ones, but for those who still remain. Basically the same flavor, to be honest, but she's at least more protected, and I love that they kept the sort of shark-like fins over her head, but made it a little bit more sharp in the look of the new Mirrodin people. Then another new change: loyal retainers used to be to aggressive people protecting a tent, and now they are more like administrative helpers. And this is because the advisor type has become something that is never aggressive. So I think this is actually a really meta flavorful change. Shelter is kind of the same. Before we saw someone shielding herself, but it was a little bit less obvious that there was a shield. Magic was a little bit less substantial at that point, but now it is really just a shield protecting from fire, as we see from a Saren Angel, and we know it's Saren because of the castle in the background. Then back to Mirrodin, we see Sunspear Shikari, which has been changed. We see that again the Hex Gold weapon is now very obviously here in the art. And we see that a Phyrexian has been slain in the background. Again, Raksha is being mentioned. Their departure split the Leonin into two prides. The fight for survival reunited them. And before, it said sort of the same thing. Left without their leader Raksha, the Leonin split into two prides. One side supported the Regent Ka, while the other rebelled in fury. But apparently now they are again one. This one is interesting. Doesn't seem like anything has changed, but a flavor has been added for the Drown in Sorrow, which was a Magic Online only card before. It says, the sad truth is that the whip of Erebos is long enough to wrap around all of our throats, which means that everyone will sometime die. Gravepact has been changed. This is has been a very popular card before, but isn't really so now, I think. It has been changed because it is now on Innistrad, and we see it says Innistrad. Is that the correct name? Yes. Denied the peace of the blessed sleep, geists, so ghosts, lash out at the living, and the cycle of anger and unrest continues unbroken. And this is funny because this is what happens when you do this to each other as well. Everyone will die. We have Azorius Predation, which has been changed in flavor and in art. In the previous Azorius Predation on the right, you see the monsters more, maybe even more vicious, but they are more real, they are more natural. And now, of course, the new green lining has been added to them. And the Azorius Heart, which you could already see here, has gotten the new green color as well. It says, slaughter the weak ones, they are unworthy of the gift of completion. Which is a changed philosophy for Vorinclex as well, because before you said those who do not submit will be consumed. It says something different because before the people that would not submit would be consumed, now the weak ones would be consumed. So the people who would not submit would be completed actually. So I think that is funny that they went back on that. So obviously as well on the same card. We have Sakiko, Mother of Summer, which has gotten a new art and flavor. She looks way different, but this also shows us the new design philosophy of not making things so animalistic or real. I guess they make it more like a human, whatever it is that they are making. And one change is that now Sakiko again slithers, where Sakiko before had legs. She says, "My heart beats with the rhythm of the forest." It's so weird that she now slithers. Or does she still have legs, do we think? I'm not sure. But most snakes on Kamigawa should slither now. At least. Stone of Chieftain got new art and flavor as well. Where before he seemed a bit bigger. That is one thing that has changed from the art. Mostly because we see the birds in the background. He said that the pounding of his followers' hearts matched the beat of his hooves, and their voices echoed his bellows. And now he says, "The soldiers were hopelessly outmatched, having brought only swords, ballistas, fire, spellcraft, and several large cannons to the battle. I like the previous one better because this is a lord." He says, "Whenever another creature you control attacks, it gains trample and indestructible." And now it's just about how strong he is. Which, sure, but you would never play it for that, right? But okay. Going on, or moving on to the side profile cards. And these I have chosen because they really give us something new. For example, Kozilek, we have never seen him from the side and not this up close. And it feels... still doesn't really feel real. But it does give us a bit of a feeling of, wow, we are so close, this thing might be in our reality, even though it's not real. Morophon, of course, we don't really look or know what they look like exactly, but yeah, I think this is a beautiful moment where we see them morphing through a few people. And I think what's funny is that they kept the antlers as well. Then Azami, you might say, well, this doesn't say anything, right? But I feel like we see more of her wrinkles. We see more that this is an old lady, maybe even. And we see this is a real person, while Azami before seemed way more mystical. And I feel like this is a good use of the side profile. Talrand, I have never really noticed how real this head was, but he has probably actually slain a drake to do this. I always thought that he was a friend of the drakes, but he dominates them more than anything. Also new flavor, I am the bridge between sea and sky, but I don't really think this adds a lot. Mikaeus the Unhallowed, well, it speaks for itself a little bit. The fact that he is still wearing that Abyssinian symbol, but it has been broken, and he has it on his shoulder as well. You can see it here as well. But mostly the fact that we are so close to the zombie makes this really, well, creepy, maybe. The fact that his blood is still dripping as well shows us that he has just been eating. So that tells us a lot too. Nahab I thought was funny because we see the sort of holes through his teeth. Maybe this is because he is a minotaur, but I think it's funny that we see more of his skull, and that adds a lot too. We also see a hole here, of course. It has been there, but now that we see it from this side, I feel like it is way more obvious how there's holes in this person's body. Azusa doesn't seem really new. I mean, she's the same, we don't really see anything new from her art, but I felt like this up close, she felt even more peaceful. Then Gisela, where we see sort of a different thing, because before, in the whole picture, we see an angel, we see she is a power to be reckoned with, but here we see her maybe having a bit of restraint, maybe even, but it's like more purposeful, and we see she has a purpose, and she isn't sure whether everything she will do will strike through either. So I feel like that is a beautiful thing for an angel, really well chosen. Kaikar wins Fury. Well, this seems weird, but I didn't really think about the fact that this is just a bird. And in his human form, or well, it's not human, I guess, but he has hands and he has a whole body. It really makes me forget about the fact that this is a bird. But from the side, it does. I know it is a bird, and the flavor makes it even more funny. A life is meaningless until put to use. How is this bird so philosophical, and how does it speak? Well, that is a good question. Maren of Clan, Nelthoth, I feel like is a great one because this color mostly makes me feel differently about her. Here she is, of course, the dreary, cruel coloring, but here she is a witch, and she has a backstory that is all about having been banished and trying to find a place of her own, finding that her own strength is the only thing that really matters. And I feel like I sense this more in this art than in this art, where she seems more sad. This seems way more powerful. Then Teysa, or Taisa, Karloff. I feel like this one, she almost seems a bit more masculine, maybe. That is it. I mean, we see more of her strong chin, stuff like that. I feel like this, not that masculine is better, but I feel like it fits her very well as well. Like the ruler of this house who maybe doesn't really care about looking feminine. She wants to look strong more than anything. Yeah, maybe that is it. She looks more strong. We see more of her jewelry, which I hadn't really noticed before because it falls away a little bit here. It looks awesome. And like this piercing as well, it's like really good. I feel like we see more about her and how she wants to portray herself. Alright, going on to the new cards that are actually new. We have Leori, has been talked about a lot because, of course, her Planeswalker Master has been killed, and everyone was happy with that. And how does Leori survive was the question here. Well, maybe this is just a picture from before because she has been killed. Or it has been rendered non-canon because everyone hated it. Might be that's the case too. Still works with Planeswalkers, which is a bit weird. Maybe because she has been, like it says, touched by a spark. When she deals combat damage to a player, choose a Planeswalker type, so a person. Until end of turn, whenever you activate an ability from them, copy that ability. Works best, I feel like, with Chandra, who already has this ability to copy her own abilities. But yeah, of course, can work with any Planeswalker and would be pretty strong. Narsi, Fable Singer, is another new card that is all about the enchantments. Whenever you sacrifice one, you draw a card. Most of these work more with them entering, because enchantments always enter, but they don't always sacrifice themselves. But they work very well with sagas, of course, which is what it is meant to be about, because those are also enchantments, and every time you finish one, they sacrifice themselves. Whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control resolves, each opponent loses life and you gain life, where X is the saga's mana value. So I think best to put this down when a saga is almost exploding, and then you can deal a bunch of damage, gain a bunch of life, and draw a card per saga. Ruka Rumel is looking into slivers and seems very happy to maybe have made her own or something, or maybe she just loves them. You choose a creature type, doesn't have to be slivers, but then slivers you control and non-token creatures you control. So I feel like it's a bit weird that slivers are also gained this, but are the chosen type in addition to their other creature types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. I feel like this is stronger in a deck that... in other sorts of creature type decks, but maybe this is meant to be the commander because it is 5 color, of course. So you will never use it in a vampire deck, which is never in green, for example. So Ruka Rumel has to be your own deck, and then how do you use it? Slivers you control and non-token creatures you control are the chosen type. Same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own. And then for 3 mana you can make a 1/1 of that creature type. One creature... We'll have to think about this. I don't think we'll get the answer right now. We have a little bit more info about the Archaics in Abstruse Archaic, which is an avatar from the World of Strixhaven, Arcavios. We have seen them. Wandering Archaic, for example, says fly the path of 9 birds. We don't know what that means. And then Teachings of the Archaic says, mages seek out the ancient beings known as the Archaics for their boundless knowledge of history and magic, dispensed only in cryptic metaphors. And from the story, we know that the Archaics live far off from Strixhaven and from other civilizations, and they choose who finds them, which is weird because they are so big. Now we have Abstruse Archaic, who is performing a spell at this moment. Does it have 9? 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe it has 9 of these things, like the 9 birds. But it can copy target activated or triggered abilities from colorless sources. Unburdened from mortality, Archaics wander the vast lands, seeking knowledge only they can comprehend. So they aren't done with seeking new knowledge either. That's interesting. We have more new insights in Rise of the Eldrazi, where we sort of learn how they came into being. It seems like we see them coming from the nothing that they originated from. But we don't really learn much more. But it can be countered, it can be stopped, they will come, is some sort of what that says. And then you destroy a permanent. So when they came in, they destroyed something, maybe a world. Target player draws 4 cards and you take an extra turn. Then you exile the Rise of Eldrazi. Because they can't come back very easily, maybe that's it. Or they can only rise once. I don't know. Onake Oathkeeper is a new card where we learn more about the Chainveil, mostly is why we want to learn more about the Onake. They were masters of dark arts and artifice, and they made the Chainveil, is what we know. And now we have the Onake Oathkeeper. Not sure what oath they are keeping, but they seem to protect the dead, maybe, but maybe these are other dead. Plus, I am now wondering if this is a skeleton. How does he wear himself like that strongly? But okay. Do we learn? Well, it says creatures can't attack planeswalkers. Maybe they are protecting another planeswalker, or like this is about Liliana or something. They can return a planeswalker from your graveyard to the battlefield. Maybe they are there so that when a certain planeswalker is killed, they will have to return. Or an oath has been made about the Chainveil by Liliana and they are keeping that oath. I'm not sure. Very deep one, that. Regal Sliver learns or teaches us that more slivers could become a Sliver Queen. I always thought there was only one. A new Planeswalker, Vronos, who doesn't appear in more flavor text. So this is like the new, what's it called? The new Wanderer. But now we have the Masked Inquisitor, and we know that he will appear on Innistrad, judging from this weapon here. What does he do? Up to 2 target planeswalkers you control face out. Phasing out. It's not the fairy, is it? For each opponent, return up to 1 target non-land permanent the player controls to its owner's hand, so a bounce. He is called Vronos, so he might have something to do with time as well. If he does, this is almost the fairy. But also, target artifact you control becomes a 9/9 construct. Oh, I think I know. Yeah. So Tezzeret has gone away before, right? And he has chosen to make a new organization. So maybe Thronos is a part of that organization. We do see a weapon from Innistrad, but we also see his mask might be from Kaladesh, actually. And it might be that Tezzeret has been sending him around those worlds to do his bidding, to start making his influence. I think that is it. I will need to come back to this video once that is true. We learn that slivers can be coded in Lazotep as well. Note that this doesn't mean that Nicol Bolas is back. This also might mean that they have found the Lazotep themselves. But it does mean they went to Amonkhet, I think. We have Chandra, which is cool because now we see her friends behind her. They are not really all dead. But maybe it's because they are, or Chandra is thinking about them. And that is giving her power so that she can add more red mana. Something like that. We do sort of learn that Jaya might be alive. But not sure. It says Jaya's Phoenix. And Jaya is seen here, maybe. Or this might be someone else and they are just conjuring up Jaya's Phoenix. Not sure. Doesn't say anything about Jaya here further. And then, sort of last, we have Amarthis Ghostfire Initiate. And Ghostfire is the fairy breath from Hugin that can be seen by other people who are like ascended. And this ability imitates the +1 from Hugin the Ineffable. Also inevitable, I guess. Where he creates morphs, and this one also sort of does. When he dies, manifests a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of counters on Marthis. We do also see that they are on Zendikar, maybe because Hugin's body is there, sort of body. Lastly, we have this cycle that has returned. I think the only notable cycle that I could see. But one thing I had never noticed, I also put 2 Wretched Confluence in there. But one thing I never noticed was the fact that they all have this pattern in here. And that is because you have 3 choices. Well, that I wanted to say shortly. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching and have a nice day.